There's a lot to talk about in today's recap. We have Mexico facing off against Puerto Rico. Edwin Diaz, we have an update on him as well as his teammate Brandon Nimmo. Everything that could go wrong for the Mets is going wrong. The Yankees, they might finally be opening up their eyes and seeing that Anthony Volpe is the shortstop of the future. And speaking of shortstops, a former shortstop, Tatis, he had his first home run of spring. So we're going to talk about all of that today. Just a quick reminder, if you guys are going to any last minute baseball games or concerts, use code Fuzzy on SeatGeek to save yourself 20 bucks off your entire order. And also a few fun clips before we have to talk about Edwin Diaz. Look at Corey Seager going yard off of his former teammate Clayton Kershaw. What in the 2017 is that clip? I still can't believe that Seager isn't on the Dodgers. I thought he was going to be a Dodger for life because he was so good for them. This reminds me of when Grady Sizemore left. He faced CC Sabathia when CC left, and Grady Sizemore hit a home run off of CC. I'll never forget that because it was just like two Cleveland legends. Only one of them is going to win that battle, and it was Grady. But Corey Seager, he was the Grady in this example. And also, Team USA took batting practice, and they let some random person take BP. He's got a backwards hat. I don't know if he's a kid or not, but I don't think he's ever going to make it if he's a minor leaguer because he's pulling his front shoulder. I don't really like his approach to batting practice. So if you guys are familiar with this guy, I'm not sure what his name is, but please let him know that he's pulling his front shoulder and he'll never make it if he continues that. Obviously, I am joking. That was Ken Griffey Jr. Please don't hurt me. Guys, I promise you we'll talk about Edwin Diaz and Brandon Nimmo in just a second, but I was doing some research after today's recap and this blew my mind. So do you remember this clip of Dusty Baker's son getting onto the field and JT Snow had to save him, like yank him out the way? That's him all grown up. Dusty Baker's son, Darren, is now a prospect for the Nationals, and look at what he did. His first professional home run is against his dad. It's a grand slam. So we're gonna show the comparisons in just a second, but it was just so cool to see and kind of surreal. Also kind of made me feel old, but there's a big difference in when he was crossing home when he was younger and now that he's a professional baseball player out there with Jeter Downs and the rest of the Nationals. Really fun to watch. All right, let's go ahead and give an update on Edwin Diaz. Now, one thing I do want to make sure I don't forget to say is that Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, he is now providing Edwin Diaz with a full-time personal trainer, a personal chef, and around-the-clock care. Steve Cohen is my favorite owner in all of sports. He doesn't have to do this. This is pretty much going to be on his own dime, but he wants Edwin Diaz to get the best care physically possible. And Edwin, he also came out with a tweet pretty much saying that he's proud of what he did for Puerto Rico. He's excited to be back because the surgery is already done. He's already healing. And I hope that he beats the projected timetable of 8 months. I want him back by the postseason. That would be so much fun. Now, one thing we do have to mention is I made a point in a video a few days ago that I don't think that we should blame the WBC and cancel it just because Edwin Diaz got hurt in the WBC. My point was that it wasn't even a baseball activity. He was celebrating, and again, it was a freak injury. Now, one point of contention that stems from the Edwin Diaz injury is the fact that maybe the World Baseball Classic should be canceled because these guys are putting themselves at risk right before the Major League season that technically matters more if we're talking about being paid by their employers. But then Brandon Nimmo came out and said, I'm not in the WBC because I want to stay healthy for the Mets. And I am not trying to use this as a gotcha moment. Ha, see, spring training does not give you magical powers that the World Baseball Classic suddenly takes away. It's baseball regardless. Brandon Nimmo, he was sliding into second base, a normal baseball play, and his ankle got caught underneath him. He rolled it and he did not look good. Now, the reports are that he should be okay going forward. But again, the irony of this is the fact that Brandon Nimmo said, I'm not playing in the WBC because I don't want to get injured. And then he gets injured in spring training. So again, whether it's Freddie Freeman pulling his hamstring while swinging a bat, or Edwin Diaz getting hurt while celebrating, or Brandon Nimmo sliding into second base and rolling his ankle, or Gavin Lux, tearing his ACL in a pickle, injuries are going to happen, and we shouldn't cancel an entire tournament that has been so huge for the game of baseball because of a freak accident. That's just never going to work, and I understand the frustration with some of the fans that think that the tournament should get canceled, but to me, that's kind of narrow-minded. This tournament is massive, like absolutely massive to the game, the most watched tournament and baseball activity ever. So yeah, let's please not cancel it because the objective is to grow the game of baseball, and we're doing exactly that. I'm not saying let's sacrifice these players like Edwin Diaz for the benefit of baseball, but again, it's going to happen. Injuries are a part of sports. They're never going away, so Yeah, that's all I have to say. So because we just talked about the WBC, let's talk about the last few games. Japan, they beat Italy to advance to the semi-finals. Ohtani, he was named MVP of his pool, and Japan, they're going to play whoever wins this game, Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Randy Arozarena, he came into this game also winning MVP of his pool after hitting 500 with 9 RBIs. He is one of the most clutch baseball players I've ever seen. But anyways, let's talk about that game from yesterday. Puerto Rico, they stormed out to an early lead. You had Javier Baez pimping a home run, and then Eddie Rosario made it back-to-back home runs. That's when Isaac Paredes and Alex Verdugo, they kind of took the game over. I feel terrible for Alexis Diaz because he just saw his brother go through what he went through. Alexis Diaz, he comes out to the trumpet song to honor his older brother, and he immediately gave the game away. I felt so bad for him. Luis Urias put Mexico out in front, and Randy Arozarena, he came in clutch with the leather this time. He said that was the greatest moment in his baseball career, and he's had a lot of big moments, talking about his playoff run where he had 10 home runs in the 2020 postseason, an MLB record. Gallegos, he struck out Hernandez. Mexico, they win 5-4, and again, after the game, Randy said that's the biggest moment of his life, and to me, I just don't understand how you can hear Mike Trout say, this is the most fun I'm ever having. Randy Arozarena and all of these other foreign players are saying, this is so huge for me and my home country. I love this tournament so much. So the only game that is happening today, you have USA facing off against Venezuela. The winner of that will be moving on to play Cuba in the semifinals. Before we show Fernando Tatis Jr. going yard, I do want to talk about Anthony Volpe because he continues to rake in spring training. He's got a bunch of walks, a bunch of stolen bases. He's got a few home runs. He has been the perfect leadoff hitter for the Yankees. I believe that he should be the opening day shortstop for New York. And Aaron Boone, I haven't really heard him sound like this before, but it seems like he's finally coming around to the idea of Anthony Volpe making the opening day roster, but in my opinion, that means the opening day shortstop spot.
Yeah, so Volpe's very much in the running, you know, to be on the team on opening day. You know, so we got 2 more weeks to go here. Those conversations will start to happen in earnest. He's played awesome. He's come in with obviously one of the big stories of this camp and gone out and delivered and performed and, you know, kind of looked like everything we, you know, expect and get excited about him being. So he's very much in the running. He's showing us why we're so excited about him this spring.
Speaking of shortstops, well, at least former shortstops, Fernando Tatis Jr. finally cracked his first home run of spring. He's got 3 stolen bases. He hasn't been caught once, so he's just getting back into the swing of things. He also made a decent catch in right field. His range is going to be some of the best of any outfielder because of his sprint speed. I feel like the instincts are going to get better as he just plays outfield more often, so expect the easy plays to look even easier, and the harder plays basically are going to look routine because he's that athletic. And then the final 2 clips I want to show, Jazz Chisholm. This was kind of funny because he barely put a dent in that score, but he did go yard off a 100-mile-per-hour fastball from Jordan Hicks. That is not easy to do. And then Derek Hall of the Phillies, he leads everyone with 5 home runs in spring. He's going to get a ton of at-bats for the Phillies until Bryce Harper is back from injury. Guys, that does it for today's recap. I hope that you all enjoyed. I'm really praying that Edwin Diaz and Brandon Nimmo, that they're going to be okay as soon as possible. But again, thanks for watching, and if you're bored, check out this video right here.